And back for this opening kickoff now. The major change is at quarterback for Calgary, of course, as Dwayne talked about. And the guys back in the studio with Drew Tate getting the start. And they will get the ball first here in this late October Sunday off the foot of Boris Beatty. And a shorter kickoff, but Finch does take it. Torrey Harrison, gets up across the 30, which is where Drew Tate and the Calgary Stampeders will go to work to start this football game.
As we mentioned, Drew Tate under center today comes into this ball game having thrown just 6 passes this season. I know a lot of people are going to look at this, Rod, as a move designed to protect Bo Levi Mitchell. That's only half the story. As far as I'm concerned, a big part of this is about having Drew Tate ready should they need him in the playoffs. He really hasn't played all year, had not thrown a pass this season until October 1st. So Drew's got to play at some point. That's how Dave Dickinson feels, and good to get him in against a team like Montreal where he'll get some action.
He's thrown 6 passes this season, 5 for 6, throws another one there to start this game, does Drew Tate, and he completes it to Kamar Jordan for a first down right away for Calgary.
Well, and one of the guys that Drew Tate will no doubt lean on a little bit today, Jerome Messam, the CFL's leading rusher, odds-on favorite for most outstanding Canadian, a guy who has to be in the conversation for most outstanding rookie, Tavares Daniels. He's been tremendous through his 10 games thus far. And the offensive line, it's always a revolving door, but the constant is their performance. They've been very, very good.
And Tate throws again and completes another one. This time it's Lamar Durant on the receiving end, so a good start for Tate and that Stampeders offense, near first down yardage again.
For Montreal defensively, they'll rely on their veterans, particularly up front. John Bowman, always a leader from his defensive end position in the linebacking core. Bear Woods, well over 100 tackles on the season thus far. In the secondary, the latest change sees Khalid Wooten come in at corner, former Tennessee Titans draft pick.
Gain of 9, 2nd and 1, handing off to big Jerome Messam. Rumbles across midfield and another first down for the Calgary Stampeders.
Again, for Drew Tate, his first start since last November. And the point that I make about Drew Tate is the fact that this isn't a guy who lost the starting job. Just Bo Levi Mitchell came along. He essentially had 2 guys competing for that job a couple of years ago. They elected to go with Mitchell. Tate's injury history may have been a factor in that, but it was never an issue of Drew Tate's performance.
He was the starting quarterback for Calgary back in 2012 before he got hurt. Kevin Glenn at the time took over, and they ended up going to the Grey Cup that year, but Tate was not healthy enough to take part, but he has had his chance, a short gain there by Messam. And you're right, I remember in 2014 heading into training camp, at the time the thinking was it's even 50-50, and they go with Bo Levi Mitchell, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and as I said, nobody ever really came out and said it, but I suspect that because Drew had maybe had some histories in the course of his career, that I think that may have been a factor in the decision, is wanting the continuity of being able to put the same guy out there every week, and Bo Levi Mitchell has been that guy over the last few seasons.
So 2nd and long now for Tate. And this is close. Yes, another completion. Tavares Daniels with his first catch of this game. And what a story he has been, this rookie for Calgary. And yet another first down for the Stampeders.
Tavares Daniels is going to line up out wide. Work underneath against coverage here. Terrific job just to wrestle the ball away from Javon Johnson.
So impressive by Drew Tate as Calgary has moved this ball to the Montreal 39, 1st and 10. Swinging it off to Durant again and cannot hang on to that football. So 2nd and 10. This has been a lot of talk about the QB decision in this situation for Dave Dickinson. And here's how he justifies and explains the move to go to Tate today.
I feel like he's given me everything he's got this year. I do want him to stay sharp, and I feel like there are some things he could accomplish this game that would obviously numbers-wise, but that's not our importance, is we're trying to get better, and I feel like this is the right time to put Drew in there and give him his chance, and then Bo stays on top of things. He'll be a great support for Drew. Bo is, like I said, our team leader, and he's our quarterback group is tight, so I'm sure Bo will still have a lot of impact on the game.
Tavares Daniels on the receiving end on that 2nd and 10. Shy of a first down, so Rene Paredes, the Montreal native, will be coming on. And Bo Levi Mitchell cheering from the sidelines, as he said he was happy to do today. He understands the circumstances.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I think that part of this decision for Dave Dickinson is made based on his experience, not as a coach, but as a player. As I remember back to the 2000 season with the Calgary Stampeders, Dave was our starting quarterback. He was the league MOP that year. We were hosting the Grey Cup in Calgary. Dave got hurt in the West Semi that year, and we were forced to play the rest of the game with Mike Cawley, who hadn't spent much time with us, hadn't had a lot of snaps. So Dave's recognizing it's important to have your backup ready to go.
And Tate stayed in for the hold of the Paredes field goal, good from 39 out. So first possession right on the board for Calgary at 3-0. Coming up, Vernon Adams coming off his first start, a victory in Saskatchewan. First drive for the Alouettes here in Montreal. It's been a revolving door at quarterback for Montreal since Anthony Calvillo retired. Vernon Adams is the latest to get his chance. His first start last week in Saskatchewan, 11 for 24 in that one, 177 yards, threw a touchdown pass as well. Great mobility, no question about that. And they did pick up the win, so be interesting to see what he can do for an encore today.
Yeah, the jury very much still out, but this is why Vernon Adams is getting an opportunity to play here at the end of his rookie season, is to be evaluated, let the Alouettes figure out exactly where they're at that quarterback position heading into 2017. We saw some good, saw some bad, but that's to be expected with a rookie quarterback.
The Paredes kickoff after his 39-yard field goal to open up the scoring comes down to Steph Logan. Up across his 25, good return going here, Logan, up across the 40 now, where Adams will have good field position for that Montreal offense to go to work.
Well, you mentioned last week, Vernon Adams, 11 of 24 against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Had his rough patches in that one, obviously, at times. Kind of recognizing defense early in the game, holding on to the ball a little bit too long at times, but his ability to maneuver around and buy time in the pocket is exceptional.
A star at Eastern Washington, as was Bo Levi Mitchell, and then he finished up his collegiate career in Oregon. And throwing on first down for no gain. That one completed to Sam Giguere. The 7th different quarterback to win for the Alouettes, though, since the retirement of Calvillo.
And it's been remarkable, the lack of continuity, I suppose, at the quarterback position, even frankly in the coaching staff, as you see this receiving core. Nick Lewis, 25 yards away from 1,000. Ryan White gets his first start at left guard in the shuffle of the O-line.
The gain of about a half yard, and the point is Newt now, as he is taken down. Sack Cordero Law in on that, just recently back in the Stampeder lineup after a long time away from injury.
Cordero Law, guy who had 14 sacks for these Calgary Stampeders. In 2013, working as a bookend opposite Charleston Hughes.
Charleston helping out there, comes in as the sack leader in the CFL with 15. And Finch on the return for Calgary up across the 43. So Drew Tate, 4 for 5 for 40 yards in that first drive. Drive number 2 coming up. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by the Nissan Titan, official vehicle of the CFL. Early on here in Montreal, it is a 3-0 Calgary lead. Drew Tate looking quite impressive and experienced, as you might expect. As far as backup quarterbacks go, wouldn't get much better than him. Had some time as a starter too, age 32. And like Bo Levi Mitchell, was once a high school record-breaking star in Texas. And throwing on first down, and little mix-up in routes as only Alouettes are around as it falls out of bounds, second down.
Yeah, he and Tavares Daniels clearly had an option route on where they were going to read coverage and determine what he was running. And this is just, I think, probably the lack of familiarity in terms of seeing things the same way, not necessarily having a ton of reps together with a guy like Daniels, who's really just been in the lineup for the second half of the season.
So just Tate's second incompletion now, up at the 44, 2nd and 10. An open receiver, but he overthrew him. That was Kamar Jordan. And that could have been a big gain for Calgary, but just inches away.
A quick 2-and-out. You'll see Montreal get some pressure here. Jerome Messam steps up to take on the blitzing free safety.
I think the reaction says it all by Tate. He had him. Instead, a 2-and-out for Montreal's defense as Rob Maber is in to punt this one away to Steph Logan, who takes it at his 30. And not much doing, a 5-yard return for Logan. So back comes Vernon Adams and the Alouettes. First quarter in Montreal, and they're trailing by 3. It's another tough year for Jim Popp and the Alouettes, missing the playoffs for a second straight year, but still something to play for as we go down to the sidelines and join John Lou. John?
Well, thank you, Rod. And what the Alouettes have to play for is to curry favor with GM Jim Popp, who's back in town for the home finale. And to that end, he says that he hopes his club will be treating today as its division final and next week in Hamilton as its Grey Cup, basically as a part of the evaluation process, but also playing for pride. And Alouettes players that we spoke to over the last 24 hours said that standing in the way of the Calgary Stampeders setting history is not their main motivation. Basically just trying to finish this season in the right direction for the good of the future of the franchise is where they're concentrating most heavily. Guys?
Thank you, John. Not the mindset Jim Popp has been used to most of his time in Montreal from 1996 until 2 years ago. I mean, they made the playoffs 19 straight years, and last year was the first one they had missed since the return to Montreal. It was Rutley in the carry and short gain with Singleton on the tackle, and now we got movement and flags coming out before the snap of the ball.
Yeah, it looked like Cordero Law made it all the way across the line
Offside.
of scrimmage.
Calgary, number 41. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Yeah, that was a little bit more than just movement. A little bit more than early movement. A head start into the backfield.
Licking his chops, I think, with a young quarterback back there. And a rejigged Montreal offensive line. I mentioned Ryan White getting the start at left guard. Philip Blake has bumped out from his left guard spot to replace Jacob Ruby at left tackle.
So 5 in the penalty. So 2nd and 3 now for Adams. Little fake and throws it right over Tommy Campbell of the Stampeders. So a punt situation again coming up for the Alouette offense. Like so many times under different quarterbacks struggling to move the football. That has really been the story for Montreal this year, definitely even last year as well.
It'll be interesting to see the Alouettes play calling here a little bit with Vernon Adams under center. Somewhat unique skill set, obviously.
And the punt by Boris Beatty is short. And Roy Finch runs past it. Still draws the no yards flag as he is taken down at the 30. Kamar Jordan now limping a bit as he heads off to the Calgary sideline.
Yeah, Jordan just got cartwheeled over top of a blocker as he was attempting the punt block and came down heavily. You see him come through right on the hash mark.
No yards interference. Montreal, number 26. 15-yard penalty. First down, Calgary.
This again speaks to the balance that you always get with the playoff-bound teams at this time of year. Just trying to find that perfect balance between going into the playoffs hot and with everybody playing and having that kind of continuity versus going in with everybody healthy.
Ned, you want your team to continue to play intense football, don't you? The fake to Messam, throwing off to the side, and first catch of the day for Joe West, who takes it up across midfield to set up a 2nd and short for the Stampeders.
Joe West is a guy that they would love to get going. He's battled injuries for much of this season and kind of lost his spot in the roster. He's a trailing man in this formation to catch that hitch screen.
But that really, I mean, the story of the day are the Stampeders since a few weeks ago clinching in Toronto. Their whole approach, knowing these games don't mean anything in terms of the standings until the Western Final, which is not until the 20th of November. Got to keep playing. Messam, short yardage, and he is more than enough for a first down to keep this drive going for Calgary.
It's been such a unique year that just the way that the schedule worked out, that the Stampeders have had this dominant season and are going to get the bye, obviously, going into the playoffs, the first round of the playoffs, but the fact that the schedule has ended up giving them a bye in the last week of the regular season as well, plus a string of games against the East down the stretch.
Second straight carry for Jerome Messam, who's having his greatest year as a pro in his 7th season. The one other time he went over 1,000 was back with the Edmonton Eskimos in 2011. But boy, it's amazing when Calgary had a back like John Cornish. Those don't come along very often. This transition in the running game has just been so seamless for the Stampeders.
Yeah, and you look at that one as a trade made late last year that really has worked out for both teams. Messam coming over from Saskatchewan, Tyler Krapinyi, the kicker, who's had a great year for the Riders, going the other way.
2nd and 5 for Tate on the move to the left. He'll keep it, he'll run it, he'll get the first down inside the 40. And so Drew Tate continues to look impressive running this Calgary offense, getting the start today instead of Bo Levi Mitchell.
And it's one that has to have Dave Dickinson smiling in the early going here. See Drew Tate really showing no signs of rust, and he had the one miscommunication with Daniels on the option route, but outside of that, has been a relatively smooth transition from one quarterback to the other here for the Stamps.
It certainly has. 5 first downs for Calgary already, none for the Alouettes on this first down. Messam again, room cutting back, and Jerome takes it inside the 30 down to about the 27-yard line, Montreal. Gain of 9.
I see a nice cut back here from Jerome Messam. Going to start this one off to the right and bounces it back behind his guard and tackle, left guard and tackle, Derek Dennis. Randy Richards over on that side.
5 carries, 25 yards for Jerome Messam so far in this game as he heads off.
Yeah, you'll see he kind of gets hit in the back of the hip right at the end of that play by the safety, Marco Briette.
So I mentioned 5 first downs so far. This could make it 6 in short yardage with Andrew Buckley in, the short yardage QB for Calgary. Scored a lot of touchdowns so far this season too, but Buckley does lean over and gets that first down by the looks of things.
Andrew Buckley and his efficiency in these short yardage situations is part of the reason Drew Tate hasn't seen a lot of snaps this year. Buckley sort of took command of this short yardage group. There was no reason to go to the veteran Tate.
And this, hopefully nothing serious, but this does go to our point, the dilemma that the Stampeders constantly face about resting starters and making sure that there's no rust from not having played for a long time. Messam getting tended to. Certainly doesn't look like anything serious right now. It's Torrey Harrison in at running back instead, and he is making some hay there as well as he gets down inside the 15, and yet another first down for the Calgary Stampeders.
Torrey Harrison, a guy who'll get a handful of snaps every game at running back in place of Jerome Messam. Certain packages, etc., as they try to keep these guys fresh. Very good option to go with.
Their first possession led to a field goal. They've driven in deeper in Montreal territory now from the 12. End zone look, and just overthrown. Simon Charbonneau-Campo falling incomplete, second down.
Charbonneau-Campo is a guy who's had a nice comeback season, limited to 3 games, just 3 catches in 2015 due to injury. But the depth that he provides, along with Anthony Parker and Lamar Durant in terms of Canadian receivers for this Stampeder team, this is what gives them some ratio flexibility to be able to roll Torrey Harrison into the lineup to spell Jerome Messam at times. They can bring one of these guys in for one of their American receivers.
Second down, Tate. End zone look again, it's intercepted. This one is picked off by the new man on the corner, Khalid Wooten from Montreal. The Alouettes celebrate. The defense comes up big again as Tate makes his first big mistake, picked off in the end zone.
Oh, there's Khalid Wooten making an impact in his first CFL start. He's out on the corner, matched up with Tavares Daniels. And again, it looks like Tate and Daniels not exactly on the same page here in terms of where the ball's going. Daniels looking maybe a little more like he's expecting a fade, a little more air on that ball perhaps.
And back discussing it over, one that Drew Tate.
Yeah, it looked like he went for the throw behind there. Wooten was just well positioned to step in front.
And so they run the ball on first down to get it past the 5 up to about the 7 as Brandon Rutley for the Alouettes.
Rutley carrying the load down the stretch for the Alouettes. What has been an injury-plagued year for Terrell Sutton, 2015 rushing champ.
Big second down deep in their own zone. They prevented any score by Calgary, but they would be punting from their end zone or giving up the 2 if they can't get the first down here. And that is deflected, so batted down. Some more good pressure. Stampeders D is doing a job against this Montreal offense so far, so out they come, and then you just give up 2 more points and get some better field position.
Yeah, I think when you're the Montreal Alouettes playing with a young quarterback, you want to put him in the best possible position to succeed, and a big part of that to me has to do with field position. If you have an opportunity to give him that, I think you do, personally.
And that's really been the story as Beatty does take a knee and make it a 5-0 game. But for the Alouettes, the defense can put them in a good situation, or at least prevent a score. But it has been the offense that has struggled so much in Montreal. Well, this is the culmination of the second last week. The last week, week 20 in the CFL regular season, begins with Friday night football and the rematch of the home and home. This one in Ottawa, the Red Blacks, who won yesterday pretty impressively over Matt Nichols and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So they meet again. Ottawa has clinched first in the East for Winnipeg. Still a lot at stake. The Bombers right now could finish anywhere from 2 to 4 and be the crossover team. So if they lost that game and Edmonton won, the Eskimos, who play the Argos to finish up, would pass them in the standings on the basis of a tiebreaker. Yes, it's that kind of year. It's always interesting in football, though, because since when do fans need an excuse to dress up?
So true. But day before Halloween, take it to a new level.
As a lot of fans have been doing here. Jacques Chapdelaine took over last month from general manager Jim Popp the coaching duties, and longtime assistant in the CFL, and won that one here, the debut against the Argos. Lost a couple of games to Edmonton and Calgary, and then winning last week in Saskatchewan. But mentioning how difficult it has been for the man that's been around right since the start of the Alouette franchise when it was reborn 20 years ago, Jim Popp. But it has been difficult, a lot of change, and some involving himself too, as he's taken stints at coaching. So kicking off after giving up the safety, and it is Torrey Harrison that does take it and work his way up. Once again, Calgary is starting with good field position. Not as good as they would have had, of course, if the Alouettes decided to punt the football, but still. Drew Tate will come in after having thrown that interception, and Calgary's at their 40-yard line.
And again, as we've seen Drew Tate on the last interception, where it looked like there's just that miscommunication, lack of familiarity with the receiver, just not being on the same page exactly, and to be expected. Again, he's thrown only 6 passes this season, but this is the reason why Drew Tate is playing now, is to get some of those things worked out.
Well, he's thrown, up until then, he had thrown 10 passes, completing that one. And a first down, so getting back to the way he started, it's Charbon Ocampo on the receiving end. Started 3 for 3. After that went 2 for 7, including the interception, but gets another completion there.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, under the circumstances, I think Drew Tate has looked pretty good here for the Calgary Stampeders. Moving the team downfield, number of first downs.
But negating that, looks like a holding penalty against Calgary, pushing them back to the 30 now. So after that completion, all for naught. Negating a 14-yard play. So 1st and 20 after the hold. And Tate dumping it off to Messam. Breaks a tackle. And he gets about 6 of those yards back. It'll be 2nd and long for the Stampeders. So Messam seems to be fine after tweaking something earlier on and heading off to the sideline.
Yeah, just the standard bumps and bruises that are an occupational hazard. You get as many touches in the course of the game as Jerome Messam does. 250 plus pounds. He's not going to be dented that easily.
On 2nd down, and that one falls short into the turf. And what is the last play by the looks of things of the quarter? Tavares Daniels, the intended receiver. So an incompletion and a punting situation to start the 2nd quarter for the Calgary Stampeders. Points are harder to come by against that Alouette defense. The day before Halloween. And it's, well, the 2nd team ever to get 16 wins in a regular season, but it would still be the greatest winning percentage ever in the modern day Canadian Football League. Dave Dickinson takes it seriously, but also wants to make sure that his players, his team, are prepared for something far more important, and that is getting to the Grey Cup, the Western Final they play at McMahon Stadium on November the 20th. Chasing a very impressive history. Edmonton Eskimos of 1989, the big asterisk there is they didn't win the Grey Cup. They were upset in the Western Final, but they went 16-2, the only team ever in CFL history to win 16 games, led by Tracy Ham. Calgary Stampeders, Dwayne, well, they've had a lot of 15-win seasons and not always a Grey Cup to show for it either.
Well, 93, 94, 95, what a lot of people would label as some of the most talented Stampeder teams ever, but not a Grey Cup to show for any of those years.
So the start of the 2nd quarter, Nick Lewis, there's a guy chasing history and makes his first catch of this game. And with that, ties Alan Pitts, 5th all-time for receptions in the history of the Canadian Football League.
Oh, that speaks volumes for me. As I've always maintained, I think Alan Pitts is the greatest receiver ever to play in the Canadian Football League. So impressive company for Nick Lewis.
As fate would have it, ties one of the all-time great Stampeders and CFL players. Lewis himself, of course, most of his career defined by his time in Calgary, and does it against Calgary to get 966. And there in the receiving end is Taekwon Underwood, who was activated just 2 weeks ago after Deron Carter and Kenny Stafford were released after their game in Calgary.
Yeah, much conversation, obviously, about the release of those 2 receivers, but the Alouettes in kind of a fortunate situation in terms of the guys that they've been able to plug in. Taekwon Underwood, a guy who broke into the league last year after some time in the NFL with Hamilton last year, and Marcus Henry, of course, a veteran with Edmonton and Ottawa previously.
And another catch for Lewis, who passes Alan Pitts now, 967 of his career, and he's in pursuit of Darren Flutie, who he could catch today with a very good game. Lewis catch number 2, and the ball had come out, and there's still no whistle down. Tommy Campbell has it. So Lewis had coughed it up, and Lewis is still saying it should be. I'm sure they'll challenge it depending on the ruling here. But it looked like he was down before the ball came out, and it hadn't been whistled dead, and Lewis telling you what he thinks.
Yeah, and we'll take a close look here, see if we can tell exactly when the ball popped loose. And there he's
clearly
definitely down. Ball wrestled out at the end, but it's kind of the conventional wisdom of officiating is let it play out. Let them play it out.
Ruling on the field is that the Montreal player caught the ball and he was down by contact prior to the fumble. It will be 1st down, Montreal.
Well, either way, Nick Lewis was getting the reception, but he'd far rather get the one that puts him into 5th alone all time by hanging on to that football, which he did do.
Right. Had about 4 Calgary Stampeder defenders. He was pushing, dragging, moving the pile.
He wants that football. He's alone past Alan Pitts now, 5th all time, and only 6 away from Darren Flutie for 4th all time. Adams looked like he wanted to throw off to his left, and Charleston Hughes takes him down for sack number 16, padding his lead in the sack race in the Canadian Football League.
Charleston Hughes with a big day. He's got his eye on his career high of 18. Said a couple of years ago. There you see the all-time leading receivers in CFL history is Nick Lewis. Climbs up to number 5.
And 5 shy of tying Flutie. So possible today, and 6, of course, to go alone in 4th, and then it'd be a bit more of a hike to catch Terry Vaughn, but still, what a great career Nick Lewis has had. It started back in 2004. Matt Dunnigan was there with the Calgary Stampeders. Won championships there under pressure again. Hughes nearly got at us again, and look who has the ball again. Nick Lewis. It was a good drive for him. Catch number 3, so he continues to add to his receiving total.
Well, this is the thing that stood out to me most in terms of Vernon Adams' strengths that he demonstrated against Saskatchewan last week, is just his ability to sense and avoid hits in the pocket, his elusiveness.
That 3rd catch, not enough for a first down, though, as the Alouettes punt, and Beattie sends this one well into the end zone as Roy Finch just gently watches it roll out for the first point on the board for the Alouettes. Although a flag is down, we'll sort that out. They talk it over. Hey, we're all CFL fans. Share your fan moments. Hashtag Marks Fan Cam. A little easier to spot the fans dressing up when it's before Halloween, or just to stay warm. You be careful there. Not quite cold enough now. You need to drop a few more degrees, but definitely don't want to be doing that. I can remember those days having done that. Might have been that young. Might have been a little older. What was that last costume, by the way?
The yellow guy?
I just caught the tail end of
it. It was
that.
a banana.
Went out as a banana, I thought so. Just wanted to be sure. Drew Tate under pressure deep in his own zone after a penalty pushed the Stampeders further back. So there was no single on that, by the way, to take you back. It was illegal block against Calgary, pushing them deeper. So instead of getting that single point for the Alouettes, they do push Calgary to start this drive deep. And look at that. The flag down on Bear Woods, taking out Drew Tate.
Yeah, just kept the hands on a little bit
Major
too
foul,
long.
roughing the passer, Montreal, number 48. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Bear Woods, who got a lot of pressure on Bo Levi Mitchell 2 weeks ago when they met in Calgary. He sacked him twice. In fact, the Alouettes had 4 quarterback sacks, which is just unheard of against that Calgary offense. And they made adjustments, and that was it. In the second half, it didn't happen again. But too much there for Bear Woods. Under pressure again, and that is thrown away.
Rod, you mentioned the Alouette success pass rushing against Calgary in their last meeting, and believe me, in making the change at quarterback for this game, that is something that the Stampeders were certainly aware of, trying to avoid some of those hits on Bo Levi Mitchell heading into the playoff.
Trying to implore the fans here at McGill to make some noise against this Calgary offense on 2nd and 10 now. The 15, and swinging it out for Torrey Harrison. And gets up across the 20, close to the 30-yard line, very close to another Stampeder first down.
Oh, nice explosiveness here. Little swing screen, bubble screen to the running back Harrison coming out of the backfield. Terrific pursuit there by Winston Venable. Not lose the angle on him.
And so Andrew Buckley is into this game. So another 3rd and short situation for the Stampeders now. Barely pushes it across the 30, and looks like they only needed about 6 inches. It'd be enough to move the chains and continue this drive. Indeed.
That was questionable at the start. Not a great surge from the Stampeder offensive line. Alan Michael Cash on the nose. Did a terrific job holding his ground, but second effort managed to get Buckley just what he needed.
a CIS star with the Calgary Dinos. I remember talking to Dave Dickinson about him before this season started. He really likes him and his abilities as a quarterback too. Drew Tate, and that one for Tavares Daniels. He got his hands on it, but it does behind him fall incomplete.
Drew Tate tried to thread this one into tough coverage. Tavares Daniels is lined up on the outside, out to the wide field here. Mitzi, the rookie, providing the coverage.
Second down. Tate, the pump fake, and over the middle and wide open. And a big first down for Calgary. It's Simon Charbonneau-Campo on the receiving end across midfield.
Charbonneau, the middle receiver in that trips formation, to the field. Just finds that soft spot in the zone between levels. Nicely run route by the Sherbrooke product. Great toss from Drew Tate.
Handing off to Harrison, and a short gain on first down. So they are in Alouettes territory again. On their very first possession, Tate drove them down, and they had a field goal, 39-yarder by Paredes. And they've since added a safety, so a 5-0 lead. Mentioning it was Montreal, to their credit, stayed in it a couple of weeks ago. A 2-0 game right until about a minute to go when they finally got it into the end zone. And it was a 22-0 game really until the last few plays when the Alouettes finally got a touchdown in a 22-8 final. On second and long, and Drew Tate has thrown his second pick. It is Tyree Hollins this time with the interception. So Al's defense again, although that one was pretty well thrown right to him. Montreal football inside their 20.
Tyree Hollins, the former Saskatchewan Roughrider, is making his second consecutive start at halfback. He gets his first pick of the year. If you watch over on the right side of the Stamps offensive line, they're going to end up with three blockers, including the running back, Torrey Harrison. But they leave the outside guy, Dan Fitterkyle, the tackle, squeezed down, expecting his guard to do the same, and presumably the running back to go outside. But running back Harrison took the inside guy, so left the outside man for the middle of the hip.
Adams fakes the handoff, keeps himself on first down, and has a good gain on that first down up around the 25, so could be just inches shy.
And there you see once again the result of the pressure that Drew Tate faced on that play. Pressure produces picks. Quarterback under pressure. Always have a tough time throwing the ball accurately, and that one went up for grabs.
So Adams stays in, second and short, Alouettes. First downs have been hard to come by for Montreal's offense, and he easily gets this one up across the 25.
Vernon Adams clearly is a guy who can be dangerous on the run and on the move, and if he's going to be the Montreal Alouettes starting quarterback going forward, I'd like to think that you're going to see an offense tailored a little more to his skill set, moving the launch points around, getting him throwing on the move, giving him an option to run or pass.
The third first down for the Alouettes compared to 10 for Calgary, handing off to Steph Logan, and they have that completely wrapped up. Alex Singleton in there, Joe Burnett as well, and a little loss yardage for the Alouettes on that play.
No surprise to see Alex Singleton, number 49, forcing the play here. Great pursuit from his middle linebacker spot. Stampeders' first round pick here in 2016. Joe Burnett doing a nice job maintaining that outside leverage. It'll be very interesting, Rod, to see who gets this Calgary Stampeders nomination
Will it
as
ever?
outstanding rookie with Singleton and Tavares Daniels. Maybe the two best rookies in the league this year.
That has been quite a story, and it's a pity only one of them can be nominated, of course. The movement and then the throw to Nick Lewis, who has first down yardage up across the 40 and his 4th catch today.
The one-man gang. Nick Lewis
might just catch Darren Flutie today.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's got another milestone. He's caught Alan Pitts today. He's also gone over 1,000 yards today. 1,000 yards for the season. That's for the 10th time in his career. First time since 2012 for Nick Lewis.
A gain of 18, so another achievement for Nick Lewis in his great career on that catch. And the 4th first down of the day. And first time they've had a drive where they've sustained something like this. Adams, he's got those quick feet and able to elude some of the pressure, but ultimately does get taken down for very little, if anything, in terms of a gain. Well, you mentioned the 10 straight seasons, and look who he has tied in that department now.
Some guy. He's tied some guy there with 10.
Some guy back in the studio who's probably shaking his head right now, but he loves talking about Nick Lewis too. Calls him Thick Nick, and one of the things I enjoy when he catches a pass, Lewis does. Milt gets fired up back in the studio too. He'd be the first to tell you, you got to get number 8 the ball more often.
Yeah, very different receivers, but both have had phenomenal careers.
Taking off is Adams, and another first down, Montreal. They got something going on here now with the running of Adams, the receiving of Lewis, and down across midfield near the Calgary 50, spotted down at the 51.
And, you know, from an offensive coordinator perspective, you might want to see your quarterback stand in there as long as he can, progress through his reads and so on. But in terms of getting it done, I love seeing this from Vernon Adams, the ability just to create and keep the Calgary Stampeder defense off balance. They're going to need to be under control. They're going to need to contain, stay in their rush lanes if they're going to control this guy.
And it's Brandon Rutley on the carry on first down to get it inside the 50 short yardage. But as we head to the 3-minute warning now, under that at 2:47 on the clock, and the Alouettes have something going, trailing by 5 here in Montreal. Coming up at the half, DT and the guys. I warned Derek about them. Keep it under control now. We got that and a lot more in the GMC playbook as well. And Nick Lewis, he's climbing that ladder. He also happens to have a message for the panel. How about this?
Your support was very much appreciated this season.
Hey, Milt, you and Dunnigan, man, and Jock, let's get some flag football team for senior citizens. Let's go out there and beat people every week. I'm 1 year away, and I can be on the team. Dunnigan, I know you still got the arm. Milt, you don't have to worry about getting hit, messing up that face. And Jock, you can even wear a suit, and we'll do the work. Oh, they gonna kick my ass. You got a job where you they gonna kick my ass.
First of all, I don't think he's ready for retirement yet. Secondly, didn't mention Schultz. He didn't mention me. Like, can I be long snapper or something?
Apparently, he didn't see the catch of the year last year.
That's right. One of the characters of the game as well. And this drive continues because of Adams, because of Lewis, because of the rest of that offense too. But those are the notable names right now as Montreal's offense is waking up here down to the 32.
Nick Lewis has clearly emerged as the security blanket for the young quarterback. Bending around the linebacker, dropping into coverage, finding that hole. Adams finds him for another first down.
And his 5th catch of the day. Getting closer to 4th all times in receptions. And that one is just thrown away by Adams.
Good decision there from the young QB, recognizing there's nothing there, really no opportunity to run. As he was surrounded, Charleston Hughes was in on him in a hurry. He'll preserve that field position, particularly in this part of the field when you're talking about getting points on the board. Live to fight another down.
moving out of that pocket again. Derek Wigan pursuing him as he dumps it off and finds an open receiver. Taekwon Underwood inside the 10, down near the 5, and first and goal for Montreal on a drive that started deep in their own zone.
Just back to my point, the fates for the Montreal offense started to turn when Vernon Adams started running around a little bit. Sitting back, trying to throw from the pocket isn't necessarily his strength. But getting on the move and creating can certainly mess with a defense.
27 yards from that game. Down to the just outside the 5 now, and a first and goal, taking the handoff to Rutley, and look who's got it again for catch number 6 of the day. Nick Lewis inside the 5, a little bit closer to taking the lead in this game. They're down by 5. In the first 4 drives, Montreal had 2 first downs. In this drive, they have 5 first downs. Marked inside the 3. Second and goal. Alouettes. Adams handing it off. Rutley, can he get in? Yes, he does. Touchdown, Montreal. And lo and behold, the team that's pursuing that record is trailing in this football game.
A good second effort here from Brandon Rutley. Fight his way through an arm tackle to get in here. Good double team. Center and guard at the point of attack. It's Rutley fighting through.
Brandon Rutley with his 4th touchdown of the season after a 12-play, 95-yard drive that took over 6 minutes off the clock. And Boris Beattie now inserted back in the Alouette lineup a couple of weeks ago with that extra point, which is good from 32. And so we have a Montreal lead at 7-5 late in the half, a minute 11 to go. That is nasty rookie treatment for Derek Taylor. Wow.
Did you face the hazing when you took over that chair?
No, I don't recall getting it like that. You know what this feels like, though? You know, you leave the kids with the babysitter, and you're saying they're really well behaved, and you're heading for the door, and you know deep down that they're hellions.
Yeah. Yeah. You tell the babysitter, don't call, no matter what. One of those days.
Yeah. Well, DT's no rookie, but just the initiation with the CFL panel, and loved his contribution this year so far with the details and getting it from Jock and Milt and Schultze there. That's very nice. You know what? I shouldn't have said anything about not being initiated, because now I got a bad feeling about this.
That's right.
It's year 3 for me, but I don't know if there's any statute of limitations of that. So, especially where Climby is involved.
Yes.
He'll be thinking about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get all cleaned up, DT. You got halftime very shortly. And we got a little surprise brewing here in Montreal with an Alouette lead by 2. Drew Tate had a good start, but he's thrown a couple of picks. Throws a completion there to Lamar Durant on first down. Under a minute to go until halftime now.
Swarming Alouette defense. Shut that one down in a hurry. This defense is fresh after that last drive. 12 plays, 95 yards. The Alouettes ate up over 6 minutes on the clock with that drive, and that's the kind of thing this defense has been looking for all year. Opportunity to be rested and fresh so they can do their thing.
Second down and 5. And it looks like it is shy of the first down, and the receiving end is Durant again. But would it be close enough, and would it be worth even considering with 34 in the clock and they're at the 35-yard line? You know, one thing for the Alouettes to finally take the lead. That's a little different for Montreal's defense if they can finally play with a lead and protect it. Albeit we're talking only 2 points here at halftime against the best team in the CFL. However, that has been a big part of the Alouettes' problem, always playing from behind.
It certainly has, and just the fatigue factor for their defense. When you have an offense that's not consistently putting together drives, it's hard. It's hard to play. Think about going 4 quarters, not that they're going to see a full dose of Jerome Messam today, but dealing with a 250-pound running back and a steady dose of that, it's going to wear down a defense if you don't get some stops.
So letting the clock wind down, Rob Maber and the Stamps, and Maber finally does get this one away with just seconds to go, and a good punt too, chasing Logan back to his 20. Steph Logan finds a bit of an opening, still on his feet, gets up near midfield, 4 seconds. And this is the kind of thing, you know, if you had just a little bit more time, I don't think with 3 seconds there's anything you can do about that, but they had just enough on that return to run a play and maybe get into field goal range, but as it stands, it's hard to imagine that happening right now, still on their side of midfield.
Great burst there from Steph Logan, the guy who made the tackle. By the way, Frank Beltre getting back in the lineup. The Stamps have dressed 4 American defensive ends for this ball game. And I know they'll be trying to figure out a way to get all these guys on the roster for the playoffs. Beltre is their best special teamer, so he's a guy they definitely want to have on.
So they just run this out. Well, a little fake there by Adams, but no, it's done. It's halftime, and it is a Montreal Alouette lead over the Calgary Stampeders, looking for win 16. So this half begins with Calgary down by 2, and Montreal with a very impressive drive for a touchdown. The last time Vernon Adams was leading the way late in that first half, and on that return by Steph Logan gets it up across to the 33. So let's see if Adams and Nick Lewis in that Alouette offense can continue what they had going late in that first half.
Yeah, they got on a pretty good roll. Again, I thought that the instigator for them was Vernon Adams when he started using his legs a little bit, getting on the move, throwing on the run and so on. Things really seemed to pick up, and it got that Calgary defense off balance because as pass rushers they couldn't just tee off and kind of head for that spot 5 yards behind the center as a launch point.
This is a quarterback they give up a first-round draft pick to the BC Lions in order to get. Jim Popp truly believes in him. I mean, he's noted all the change at quarterback since Anthony Calvillo, the raucous stability for so many years from Montreal, retired. But to Pop's point, there has been so much change, not only head coach, coordinators too. It's difficult for any quarterback to get established in an offense. And they want to give Adams a chance to get established, albeit late in the season at the end. First catch of the day for Marcus Henry, who had a catch last week in Saskatchewan for a touchdown. That was the touchdown pass thrown by Adams.
Marcus Henry, a veteran who joined this team when they had some injury issues at receiver early in the season. Spent some time on the practice roster before being activated when Duron Carter and Kenny Stafford were released, leading receiver for Ottawa a couple of years ago.
In their inaugural season, where the Red Blacks made a slew of changes in that department last year. And on 2nd and 5 and being hit, and look who's on the receiving end now. And with that catch, career catch 972, and Vernon Adams really took a hit and is down in a lot of pain, holding that left knee, it appears, or the back of the knee. And so just as Nick Lewis had tied another record, his quarterback goes down hard.
He was writhing in pain immediately. Brandon Smith came completely free on that halfback blitz. Well, Nick Lewis on the other end with his 7th catch of the game, so 7 of Vernon Adams' 11 completions in this football game have gone to Nick Lewis.
And so Rakeem Cato, who had the starting job before, is warming up to go into this ball game again. Concern as Adams has been playing so well, but injured now. We'll take a break and be right back. Just as Vernon Adams was really starting to play well, Dwayne, he gets taken down, looks like a knee injury, and he is out of this game.
Yeah, to land a little awkwardly. If you watch right in that top right corner of your screen, it's Brandon Smith coming on the halfback blitz. He's unblocked. Watch the left leg of Adams. Seems just kind of twist a little bit just on the way down there with Smith landing on top of him.
So in comes Rakeem Cato, whose first start in the CFL was against the Stampeders here in Montreal, and he was dynamite. 20 for 25 through 3 touchdown passes, and it looked at the time like the Alouettes had their next big thing at quarterback. Of course, it didn't really transpire that way afterwards.
Yeah, and I think Rakeem Cato is one of those guys who's been a victim of the lack of continuity that you talked about, Rod, particularly in terms of the coaching staff and the offensive scheme. That for a young quarterback to come in, he's never really been able to kind of settle in and just learn one system and grow within it.
Completes his first pass for more than 9 yards and just across midfield. And handing off now. And some tough yardage there to be had. Not much at all for Brandon Rutley, as he is stuffed at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Alex Singleton, middle linebacker, in there in a hurry.
Singleton on the tackle.
Number 49, out of Montana State. Slicing through that gap, and you saw the impact. Rutley's kind of launched backwards from the hole.
And you talk about the rookie dilemma. Who will be the nominee from Calgary, him or Devaris Daniels? What a choice that is. They've both been tremendous additions to the Stampeder team.
Well, this is where I'm a believer, and you know, I know there are the traditionalists who think everything has to be done by divisions in this league, but you know, I've said for years, scrap the divisions in terms of the playoff format, but also in terms of the awards. I wouldn't even go through team nominations for awards, because your ideal is you want to have the 2 best guys as finalists for every award. And I just think that there's a better way to do it, because a lot of times you take the excitement or the drama, suspense out of the awards, because guys are eliminated either by the time team or divisional nominations are done.
There he went. Other teams passing over Alex Singleton. Josiah St. John going first, but he has clearly been the best on that list this season.
Yeah, I mean, when you look, this is a draft class that lived up to its billing. We've talked about the 2016 draft class as one of the best in several years, and you look, I mean, Philippe Gagnon has started every game at right guard for the Montreal Alouettes. Jason Lauzon-Séguin has started games at both tackle spots for Ottawa over the course of this season. Obviously, Singleton's been terrific. Brandon Revenberg has taken over, has started at both guard and tackle for Hamilton. So, you know, to get that bumper crop of rookies, you don't necessarily anticipate even your first round picks becoming starters in their first year.
And I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's not to denigrate to the other rookies, fine rookies in that draft, as we just showed you, have had some very good productive seasons. Singleton has been standing out though on this short yardage gain, and it's Shane Carden that's in, the 3rd string quarterback for the Alouettes, in that short yardage, and looks like he does have it. There's a little skirmish breaking out here. Luc Brodeur-Jourdain, even Carden himself is in it with Singleton as flags come out after that apparent Alouette first down.
A couple of pretty good shoving matches as that one wound down.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Calgary, number 49. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Well, just as we talked about 49. Whistles had blown, and he kept going, and Carden certainly didn't like it.
A couple of young guys getting right at it. Singleton's so unique as a rookie, as he's a guy who in 2015 spent time in New England Patriots practice roster, went to training camp with Seattle.
And Cato on first down, airing it out, end zone, touchdown, just like that to Taekwon Underwood. And Montreal, lo and behold, with a different quarterback, has padded its lead.
What a beautiful pass by Rakeem Cato. Right on the money. Let's have a look at the protection here. Well blocked at the line, and look at the touch on this pass. Drops it right in amongst the triangle of Calgary Stampeder defenders. Taekwon Underwood has his first as a Montreal Alouette.
And now, with the point after coming up from Boris Beattie early in this third quarter, you start to think about the possibility of an upset here with the Alouettes defense doing what it does. Last couple of drives from Montreal with two different QBs. First Adams, he got hurt. Cato in to Underwood. And we got a 14-5 Montreal lead. The Alouettes adding to their lead thanks to the touchdown by Taekwon Underwood, making a winner for two, Vondra White. And Underwood with 3 catches today. He had 3 in his debut with the Alouettes last week in Saskatchewan. That's a 6-play, 76-yard drive. Rakeem Cato taking over from Vernon Adams after Adams went down with an apparent knee injury.
Let's go! Let's go, Dub!
And a 9-point lead. 2-score lead for Montreal with Roy Finch taking it out. Germanson missing his tackle there on Finch as he eludes him, and he gets more yardage, finally driven out by Kyle Graves. Good return by Finch.
You look back at this play, Underwood's going to line up on the outside here, gets an inside release and goes deep, but one of the keys to the play is BJ Cunningham coming underneath from the other side, because what he's going to do is occupy Campbell's deep help, which is his halfback Brandon Smith. He's going to look at that under coming from the other side and kind of sits down on that. He's in a position where he can't provide that inside deep help for his corner. Cato lays it in there, and Underwood's got 6.
And a 47-yard return by Finch has Drew Tate in Calgary starting in midfield, and Tate looking long for Durant, and just a little bit too far out of bounds at the 30, so 2nd and 10, Calgary.
Stamps looking to get it back in a bunch. Durant had a little bit of separation there, but just too far to the outside. It was a ball that had to be thrown outside, but the margin of error is narrow.
Drew Tate's numbers now 10 for 20, 99 yards, and 2 picked off. He had a good start, driving him down for a field goal in his opening drive, completing his first 3 passes, but has cooled off since then, and the pressure gets to him. Gabriel Napton, and the Stampeders will be punting.
Gabriel Napton, number 55.
Gabe Napton picks up his 7th sack of the season. Coming off the edge here against Randy Richards. Well, I think from Richards' point of view, the inside rush caught him off guard. Again, outside defender, he's anticipating an outside rush with nobody else looping around.
Mentioning the pressure that Al's defense, 4 sacks in Bo Levi Mitchell 2 weeks ago in the first half. Nothing in the second half as they made adjustments, but the sack there by Napton, forcing Maver into a punting situation. And taking that is Steph Logan, flying down on a good return by Logan. Singleton there on special teams, riding him out, but we'll wait for the call here. It looks like it'll be coming back.
During the return, illegal block, Montreal number 26. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Nick Shorthill called on that penalty. An update on Vernon Adams now from John Liu.
Well, thank you, Rod. Vernon Adams Jr. went into the Alouettes dressing room, was in there for about 7 minutes. When he came out, he was limping, favoring, of course, that left leg. Went over to the stationary bike and pedaled very slowly for about a minute before limping back into the dressing room. Now, the club is saying that he suffered a left leg injury, and it's not serious, but they're still examining him. Guys?
Thank you, John. Well, Adams completed 10 of his last 11 passes, 11 for 14, 105 yards, also carried 4 times for 29. He was having a very good game after a slow start for that Montreal offense, but hey, Rakeem Cato, he picked up, went 2 for 2, including a 47-yard touchdown pass to Taekwon Underwood, handing off to Brandon Rutley there for a short game.
A terrific job in a tough situation for Rakeem Cato. As you said, Adams had built this momentum and to get thrown in cold in a situation where you've got to try and maintain that. Very nice job finishing the last drive for Cato. We'll see if he can keep it going here.
The last 2 drives have been touchdown drives. Late first half here in the third quarter for Montreal. And on that 2nd and 7, that one falls short of Nick Lewis, who's had a tremendous day. 7 catches on the day. But this time it is 2 and out for the Alouettes as Boris Beatty and company are coming back out.
To me, that's a very important stop for the Calgary Stampeders. Obviously, there's a ton of time left in this football game. They need a little bit of a sense of urgency that I think has been lacking thus far in the game for Calgary to take advantage of opportunities and so on.
This much is clear. If they get that historic 16th win, it is not going to come easily. Not the way things are looking right now. And a shorter punt by Beatty. And so good field position for Tate and the Stamps to work with when we come back to Montreal. You watch CFL 30. Love this show. Coming up Tuesday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Love it because you don't just watch it. It'll be on TSN2. It's listening to it.
That's a freight train coming. 2-2. Oh, yeah. Yeah, top it wood. Hell no, he out of bounds. This is the most handsomest guy in the whole league right here.
Tuesday, coming up at 7. I know Chris Cuthbert already said this in the game in Hamilton the other night, but wouldn't you love to hear Dwayne Ford coming down on his playing days going, here's the freight train coming. 2-2. Never did, though, did you?
I didn't talk a lot.
No, you weren't
out on the field.
You did your talking with your actions.
Yeah, we had plenty of other guys to look after that, the likes of Alondra Johnson, Anthony McClanahan, and others.
Simon Charbonneau-Campo. Force of habit, always calling him Charbonneau-Campo. Did for so long. You're Charbonneau now on the back of the jersey. Product of University of Sherbrooke. Jerome Messam off tackle right inside the 40. So suddenly Calgary is on the move, down by 9 and looking to answer back now after Montreal has proven to be very game in this finale for the Stampeders.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. We looked at some of the best records in CFL history in the first half of this ball game, and I remember as a member of the Toronto Argonauts back in '95, we had a Calgary team that came in final week of the season. It was the worst team I ever played for in my career, by the way. We were 3-14 going into the final game. Calgary came in at 15-2. with a chance to tie that record for wins in a season. Doug Flutie had been out basically since mid-season. Jeff Garcia had been playing quarterback. They elected to go with Flutie at quarterback to start that last game of the year. We ended up beating them. That's why they sit at 15. So it's not uncharted waters here for the Montreal Alouettes as a severe underdog in the potential spoiler role.
Yeah. The moral of the story you're saying, that there is always a chance.
There's always a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. But 95 Stampeder team too, and I know you played on some outstanding Calgary teams as well, the 95 team. Boy, 15 wins in 3 straight years, and none of them added up to a Grey Cup. So the assumptions you can make, and people point to this, Kyrie Zabert with some words for the Stampeders. He was the injured player, and he seems fine now, as he's doing a little bit of talking while he gets his chance passing by. But even the 16-win Eskimos, I mean, they lost it in the Western Final to Namath. So it's not great regular seasons, bottom line. It's not a guarantee of a championship. Stampeders, Dave Dickinson, they know that full well. The biggest games are still to come. Not out of this one yet, though. Down 9, and Drew Tate is down again. Second sack of the half for these Montreal Alouettes. Once again, Gabriel Napton right in the mix.
And DeQuinn Evans, a former Stampeder, in on that one as well. Evans coming from that left defensive end spot. Twist on with Winston Venable allows him to work inside.
Second and 15. Past the midway point of the third quarter. 14-5, Montreal. Calgary on the move, but a flag down again. In fact, they blow it dead just as Tate has the ball. A lot of movement there for the snap of the football.
Procedure. Calgary, number 50. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
They give it to the right guard, Spencer Wilson.
By the way, the whole Calgary O-line moved except for center Cam Thorne. I suspect that the guy with the ball forgot to count.
You got to commend what Calgary's done in their offensive line too. Wilson has played center, his natural position of right guard, which he's playing today. He's played right tackle in place of Dan Federkow. They've had to adjust with injuries on that O-line and still giving up the fewest sacks by far in the CFL this year. Giving up a couple in this game with Drew Tate. Jerome Messon takes it, and on second and long, gets it to the 45, but we're looking at about a 52-yard try for Rene Paredes.
Messon was off balance as he took that one. Not in an ideal position to try and fight off the tackle of Khalid Wooten.
And it would have been 53, but instead Rob Maber is in. See if they can hem the Alouettes deep. Rakeem Cato and company. So it'll be Maber punting, standing at his 50. And the Alouette defense gets the job done again. And this one angles out just inside the 14-yard line. Cato at quarterback for Montreal, leading him out again. Well, there's your view back in Montreal. This is a special day. You know, we see the game, but we don't often see the people who provide us with those views. That's high end zone, camera number 5. That is John Brooks. A special day. We celebrate the career of longtime cameraman and the CFL and TSN crew member John Brooks. A constant in the Montreal sports scene since 1966. Today, shooting his final game after an outstanding 50 years in the business. John Manning, camera 5, high end zone, as you saw, a position that's essential to the broadcast, a constant source of replays. And John, on behalf of your friends and colleagues in the industry, us at TSN, we congratulate you on just an amazing career, 50 years. And we wish you all the best in retirement. Got the jersey presentation, a little thumbs up from John, too. All right, Brooksy, 50 years. In CFL terms, we're going back to 66. That was the year the Riders won the Grey Cup for the first time.
And that's before I was born.
Not me, but I was pretty young, a little younger than John. That's terrific, though. And so on that play, that completion, an example of what we're talking about, and give you the replay of it, Dwayne, from John's camera.
Yeah, this is what John sees. End zone camera.
Courtesy John Brooks, and a reception there from Cato to Marcus Henry. And a first down. It's a breathing room for that Owls offense. And Brandon Rutley on the carry. Gets it up to about the 30, second and 5.
And this is one of the goals you got to credit this Alouette offense. Now they've got going a little bit. Anytime you're getting the ball deep in your own territory with the importance of field position in the CFL game, you got to at least generate a couple of first downs, and they're off to a good start on this drive.
One of their touchdown drives killed over 6 minutes on the clock. Faking the handoff and taking off is Cato! Rakeem Cato! Could he be gone? Inside the 20, and just finally goes out of bounds down at the 5. Hey, we talked a lot about the danger of Vernon Adams running. How about Cato? Nearly taking it all the way.
I'll tell you, I knew Rakeem Cato could scramble a little bit, but I didn't realize that he was this flat out fast.
73-yard run, Rakeem Cato.
That'll sling the field position in a hurry. Great effort by the Owls sophomore quarterback.
Montreal doing all they can to spoil this notion of a regular season record for the Calgary Stampeders. Now they're knocking on the door again. They're up by 2 scores. Oh, nearly intercepted. Cato nearly handed all of that back to Alex Singleton, but perhaps stunned to see the ball heading right for him. Couldn't hang on.
There's Singleton from his linebacker spot. The guy who's just got a nose for the football, always finds his way into the middle of the action. Just unable to squeeze that gift.
An absolute gift, as you guys would say. It's right between the 4 and the 9. Couldn't squeeze it. A talented rookie for the Stampeders. Great chance there to snuff out the scoring possibility. Still existing here. BJ Cunningham trying to get close to the goal line on that 2nd and goal, and this will be an interesting decision now with a 9-point lead and 3rd and goal for the Alouettes. Fans, you know what they want to do. Big guys coming in. By the way, that run by Cato was the longest, 73 yards by the Alouettes this season. Cunningham just trying to stretch out for that touchdown. See if they can punch it in again here. They already have 2 TDs in this game. Just outside the 1. 3rd down, Shane Carton, no. Trying, pushing, getting help from Beaulieu, but no. And they'll turn it over on downs. Calgary football.
A huge stand there for the Calgary Stampeder defense. Micah Johnson, standing defensive tackle amongst those in the middle of the action on this one.
So the Cato run in terms of points is all for naught. Montreal does not cash in. Certainly does swing field possession nonetheless with 2:06 to go until 3/4 time. And a long field, the longest, left for Drew Tate, and a Calgary offense that has been sputtering against a very good defense that, next to Calgary, gave up the fewest points per game this season coming into this game.
It tells you everything you need to know about this team when you consider their record.
So on that 1st down, and it is Torrey Harrison, a good gain on the ground and first to get it up near the closer to the 10.
Nice as a running back not to be lining up in your own end zone.
Spotted at the 8, yeah, so it is 2nd down and 3 for Calgary. Completing it to Harrison. And a 1st down for the Stampeders, a big one at that.
Harrison, 1st down Calgary.
We're into the heading towards the final minute in this 3rd quarter.
Oh, good quick hitter, good protection there from the Stampeders as well. Maybe some of those quick high percentage passes might be the way to go to let Drew Tate get into a little bit of a rhythm here. The Alouette defense has turned up the heat a little bit here in the 2nd half, getting to the Calgary quarterback a few times.
Tate couldn't find a receiver. He finally tried Jordan, but that falls incomplete. So 2nd down. This Calgary team does not play again after this game until November the 20th at McMahon Stadium, and that will be to decide who represents the West in the Grey Cup. Considering also there could be a team representing the West coming from the East, but that's another story. But a long rest, Wayne, and you consider it was 3 weeks ago that they clinched an appearance in that game. This is just a very different dynamic for a football team.
Yeah, a whole new set of challenges in terms of staying sharp, keeping the emotion. Emotion is a part of the game. You want to have that.
And the blitz coming. Bear Woods gets picked up over the 20 now, and the receiving end is Tavares Daniels. Not enough for a 1st down, however, as the 3/4 time is just about done.
That'll be 3rd down and 1 yard.
That'll be 3rd down and a very short distance to go.
They're bringing in big bodies, but I don't see punter Rob Maver coming off the sideline.
So Andrew Buckley, they've had a lot of success, of course, in their short yardage plays, and given the situation now, down by 9 points, with little more than a quarter to go. This will be the last play of the 3rd quarter now. See if they can keep the drive going when they switch ends.
A big gamble given the field position.
Certainly is. Buckley goes, and I don't think he got it. Ray Drew wrapping him up. Noel Thorpe doesn't think so either. So this could be a big turnover for the Alouettes to start the fourth quarter.
It is.
It is. Montreal football. So the Stampeders turn it over on downs, their third turnover of this game. And Montreal gets another chance already in scoring range. The surprise brewing here at McGill. Ray Drew tells you. So is the defensive coordinator. By Dave Dickinson, but nonetheless, most of the starters in. This is a very good Calgary football team, and Montreal is doing a number on the play action fake. Rolling to the right, looking to the end zone. And no, falls incomplete. He was looking for Marcus Henry, but there was good coverage there by Calgary.
Well, quite a collision over there from the converging Calgary defenders. You see the end of this play, the way things play out, get a couple of receivers in similar territory and bring their defenders with them, so Jamar Wall is able to come off of Marcus Henry. Henry ends up playing DB there essentially to knock it down, but a huge collision. I think it was actually Henry that collided with Seontae Evans.
And Jamar Wall getting up too, and you could hear it from the Calgary bench. They're upset, thinking it should be OPI. What do you think?
You know, to me at a glance, I thought it was a pretty good defensive play by, well, from that angle,
right.
You see the left hand of Marcus Henry draped over the shoulder of Jamar Wall, and that's why he was so emphatic. From the other angle, you didn't see it as well. It just looked like Henry had made a good play reaching over to knock the ball down. But you're absolutely right, Rod. They may have a pretty good case for OPI.
No challenge out. Haven't seen a challenge here early in this fourth quarter. And so just outside the 21 for Montreal. Cato to throw again under pressure and just goes down. So lost yardage, and it's a field goal situation blatantly now outside the 30 for Montreal, for Boris Beatty to come in and try his first field goal of this game.
And I'm okay with that bit of self-preservation by Rakeem Cato. Again, recognizing the field position, you're in a position to put points on the board. Don't risk a turnover by throwing up a pass under duress. Quite frankly, didn't even risk taking the hit that could create a fumble. Just got down.
Yeah, Beatty last year converted 90% of his field goal tries. Best in the CFL. Really struggled earlier this year. Had a lot of time away. This is his third game back. He was 2 for 3 last week, and we'll call that 3 for 4 since his return, if you will. 1 for 1 on the day, 3 more on the board, and a 17-5 Alouette lead. Jason Momoa in a Discovery Original Series, Frontier. Starts at Sunday, starting November 6th. Week from now, free preview is on now. Discovery. Happy Halloween, everybody, too, by the way. A lot of people dressing up. Cheerleaders, too, here in Montreal. Big day tomorrow.
Blackie, I love your costume this year, by the way.
That's right. This is Rod
exactly
Black. I thought
like
I would
Rod
try
Smith.
the Rod Smith costume. Rod Smith is back in the studio with the Derek Taylor costume, which I understand is working well. But he wasn't crazy about getting the whipped cream initiation. And this is after the return by Finch. This is not a costume, or could it be someone dressing up as Deron Carter? This is just 2 weeks after he played in the game, his last game as an Alouette 2 weeks ago at McMahon Stadium, and he is back in the crowd tonight. What do you think of that?
Probably may not be that thrilled with the organization, but supporting his old teammates.
The decision made to let go Carter and Kenny Stafford. And stunning news. Carter, an extremely talented receiver. It'll be interesting to see how things play out in his future in the Canadian Football League. But there were problems as well, and that have been, well documented.
Ridiculously talented guy. He served a suspension earlier this year after a sideline incident with Ottawa coach Rick Campbell.
The second and long now after the reception. Daniels gets rocked by Kyrie Zaber, just shy of a first down near midfield.
Some of the Stampeder players are lobbying for that to be called a hit to the head. Huge collision right here.
As Hebert celebrates afterwards, as he's wont to do. And they bring out the chains to see if it is indeed a first down. It looked to be a little bit shy on that second down play. Yes, by about a foot, but this is old hat for Andrew Buckley and the Stampeders offense, although the last time they went in short yardage, of course, it wasn't customary. They didn't make it.
Yeah, looking for a rebound effort here for this short yardage unit. Big props, by the way, to DeVaris Daniels for hanging on to that football.
Whatever. Calgary Stampeders had a field goal on their first drive. Only a safety after that. But for the offense, that was it. And it's Anthony Parker with his first catch of the day. And interesting decision, talking about short yardage, that they pass instead. And from Buckley, Andrew Buckley completes that to, that's the Dino connection right there, isn't it?
Yeah, Anthony Parker on the receiving end. Always love to see some creativity in short yardage situations, and that's a gutsy one, putting the ball in the air, but a high percentage play nonetheless. You're still asking a guy who really hasn't thrown the ball to come in cold and throw the ball. But Buckley gets it done.
Alan Michael Cash, the injured Alouette, heading off. Buckley, as we talked about, was a very good quarterback in Canadian University play at the University of Calgary.
Heck Crichton winner as the top player in Canadian University football. Also winner of the Russ Jackson Award.
And speaking of Russ, what interesting company to keep with 8 rushing touchdowns on the year. That the only quarterbacks to do that, or he matched in terms of Canadian quarterbacks, I guess, with rushing touchdowns. But as a Canadian quarterback, if you're going to be mentioning the name of Russ Jackson, that's
that's
the way
okay
to do it. The Alouettes still have a game to play after this one next week in Hamilton for Calgary. They are done. This is their final game of the regular season, looking for that record that we've been talking about. They have the bye next week, but they have the bye the week after as the first place team in the West. So they won't play again for a while after this. And Drew Tate avoids the pressure, and a wide open receiver. It's Kamar Jordan down inside the 20. So the Stampeders are finally in business in this fourth quarter, trailing by 12 points.
With the pressure mounting, you're seeing Montreal knowing it's be a little bit more pass heavy. Calgary offense at this point starting to come after Drew Tate. Does a nice job buying some time until he can find an open receiver.
And working quickly now, taking it to Harrison, dishing it off to Charbonneau, who gets it down closer to the 10. Receiver, he's had a few catches today and should know this field well, playing rival McGill back in his days at the University of Sherbrooke. This is the first trip into the red zone for the Stampeders today. Had the interception earlier on.
It's been tough sledding. This Montreal defense has come as advertised.
With flags down with the snap of the football.
Time count violation. Calgary, number 4. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
So Drew Tate, to your point, and Dave Dickinson talked about this, it's not just about protecting Bo Levi Mitchell. It's about giving Drew Tate some reps. He's an experienced quarterback, but he has not played much lately. This is his first start in a year.
Yeah, well, it's, to me, very important for Drew Tate to play today, and I know the boys in the studio had their debate about how much each quarterback should have been used.
Passing there, and incomplete. Intended for Charbonneau again. So a field goal situation now, as we will see. Rene Paredes.
Definitely not what the Stampeders wanted. Aside from the obvious fact you want touchdowns instead. Just the field goal still leaves you 9 points down, so still leaves you needing 2 possessions if you're going to get it done here.
Paredes from Pierrefonds, Quebec, Montreal area. So coming home for him, he played his university football at Concordia nearby. He knows the stadium too. An old Quebec Conference player in CIS, and puts it through again, his second field goal of the game. 3 more on the board for Calgary. Back to a 9-point game at 17-8. TSN is brought to you by GMC. We are professional grade. We're in the fourth quarter, 10:27 on the clock. Calgary just adding 3 points. Steph Logan back for the return after the Paredes field goal, making it a 17-8 game. But the Calgary Stampeders lost their opening game. They have not lost since, but this is their finale, and they are trailing right now, just over 10 to go. Heads Logan's way, down at the 20. Another good return by Steph Logan, taking it up to the Montreal 43.
Those tough on the field deserve a truck that's tough on the road. The 2016 GMC Sierra.
So back comes Rakeem Cato coming into this football game. In the third quarter, after the injury to Vernon Adams, who had been playing very well in the second quarter, especially after a slow start. They're calling it a left leg injury. It looked to be in the area of the knee, and unfortunately to see that. Cato, though, has led a touchdown drive. He had a 73-yard run. And then later they turned it over on downs, didn't get the points for it. But Cato has looked pretty good in his stead. But Adams, it looked like things were really starting to gel for Vernon Adams just before he went down with that injury.
Yeah, Adams taking a step forward from his first start last week to start number 2 here. Took him a little while to get going, as you said, but once he settled in, started playing what I think is his game, things looked up for the Owls.
He was 11 for 14 when he got hurt. Another completion for Cato. Sam Giguère on the receiving end. And he gets it inside the Calgary 50, so another first down for the Alouettes.
Quick hitter, high percentage. Cato hits the crossing route underneath. Giguère does a nice job. Another Sherbrooke product. Picking up some yards after the catch.
Short yardage there, however. If the Alouettes are able to win this game, they would see their record go to 6-11 with a game to go. But there's no chance of catching the Tiger Cats for that playoff spot. Everything's already wrapped up. Hamilton is the second team. Will host the crossover game, Ottawa clinching yesterday with the win over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So they get home field and a bye into the Eastern Final for the second straight year. So the Alouettes playing it out, but trying to make a statement against the team that's been number 1 in the Canadian Football League clearly this year. Cato back, throwing again, and that one closest in the area was Giguère, but it's incomplete. And a third down, and on comes the punting team.
And on that one, Cato had Charleston Hughes, the CFL sack leader, breathing down his neck as he launched that one. Again, you see the impact of pressure. From the bottom of your screen, Hughes does a nice job getting underneath Philip Blake.
Some pressure on Beatty, and there's a Stampeders slow to get up. Rushing, trying to block that. Jamar Wall, but getting up now. Calgary football. Calgary trailing by 9. The MLS Cup playoffs continue tonight with leg 1 of the Eastern Conference semis when Toronto FC goes up against NYC FC. You can catch it at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on TSN's 1 and 4. Exciting with the Montreal Impact in the Eastern semis as well. It's New York Red Bulls. Right now the Alouettes here at Molson Stadium surprisingly lead the Calgary Stampeders 17-8 with 8 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. Drew Tate, the quarterback today for Calgary, on the move, flag out just as he scrambles and gets across the 35.
The ball carrier. Arrêté par le numéro 55, Gabriel Nathan. Infraction.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Montreal, number 45. 10-yard penalty. First down.
It's Khalid Wooten, who had a big interception just inside Montreal's end zone back in the first half on Drew Tate, getting the penalty there.
Yeah, Wooten basically took points off the board for Calgary with that interception. He's on the outside. Matched up with Joe West. Little bump after 5 yards. Earns him the flag and the Calgary first down.
So Tate moving around again. He gets Joe West and another first down. Calgary up to the 52.
Meanwhile, over on the Calgary sideline, there's Jamar Wall, who's slow to get up after the last Montreal punt. Put no weight on that left ankle going off the field. Now this is one of the stalwarts of that secondary, a real key guy for the Stampeders.
Tate handing off to Torrey Henderson on first down. And a good gain on first down to around the Montreal 51. And again, this is the thing. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Ron Mayo, great linebacker, got knocked out. Pierre Lavertu injured last week, but you got to keep playing the game. They can't just rest all their starters anyway. So
yeah, well, and you hope they've got 2 weeks of buys basically that may get some bodies back in the lineup.
Nearly the third interception for Drew Tate as Chip Cox was stretching out for that. But to that point again, there is the plus of all that time. You're right. I mean, the 2 buys. They'll be able to take a 10-day break. They're getting a break just to go visit their families, just get away, and then come back and concentrate on the Western Final again.
Refresh their bodies.
And they've gone a long time with a challenge coming out, Dave Dickinson. But they have gone a long time now without getting that break, getting that bye. It's just like Edmonton a year ago. The Eskimos eventually winning the Grey Cup, but they had a
Calgary
bye.
is challenging that pass interference was committed against their number 87. We'll review the play.
Charbonneau was the nearest Calgary receiver to that ball when it was thrown. Chip Cox matched up on him as the number 3 man here. Contact looked incidental from the other defender attempting to follow his man. See what call we get here.
So as we await that, as I say, similar dynamic to the Eskimos a year ago, except Edmonton's games all had meaning right to the end in order to clinch first place. Calgary clinched still with 3 weeks to go.
Yeah, clinched early and didn't face anybody that they're going to see within the West playoffs, playing all West teams down the, all East teams down the stretch of the season.
That's the way the schedule worked out. Their final 4 games after beating Winnipeg, there were 2 against the Argos, 2 against the Alouettes. So you're right, it's been a long time.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Incomplete pass. Third down.
So Dickinson is denied there and loses a timeout in the process as well with that challenge.
Good call again on contact that completely incidental. Nice crossing pass.
It is 3rd down and 4. A 2-score game, 6 minutes and change on the clock, so they do go for it. Already turned it over on downs once, but not this time. They get the first down. LeVar Durant from Tate inside the Montreal 45, and the sticks move.
Quick hitter on the underneath route, knowing that some of that second level is going to clear out because you're going to see a little bit of blitz action coming from Montreal linebackers. That opens up that level underneath. It's right where you needed to get to reach the sticks.
Quickly inside to Kamar Jordan, still on his feet, down near the 30, and another first down. And suddenly, Calgary's offense is clicking.
Great effort by Jordan after the catch. It looked like he was going to be hit immediately. Managed to avoid a quick hit right there and turn it upfield, keeping his balance.
Tate working again, handing it off to Harrison. A lot more Harrison and less Jerome Messam here in this second half as he takes it down inside the 25. 5:11 to go.
Stampeders look like they're picking up some steam, but been down in this territory a couple times before.
Well, a touchdown here could make for a very interesting conclusion to this ball game as they do chase that record. Harrison again on second and short, goes off to his left and appears to have yet another first down inside the 20 for Calgary. Yes, indeed, another one. So they continue to move, as does the clock, down to about 4.5 minutes now.
Maybe this is the kind of game that the Calgary Stampeders needed, particularly in the fourth quarter. A little bit of pressure and something to play for.
Tempo offense off the fingertips of Harrison that time, so second down. But whatever you can do, you're right, to create that sense of urgency and challenge. That's not something they've really had.
No, I mean, basically for a month they haven't had a lot of that. It's maybe not the worst thing in the world to have this situation that demands a little bit of intensity.
So here we go, 2nd and 10. At the Montreal 18. Low snap for Tate. Quickly gets it off to Durant, who has some room. Down the middle, pops up the football, but it looks like Calgary has it back anyway. As Durant breathes a sigh.
Well, prior to that fumble at the end of the play, you're going to see a great block by Spencer Wilson. Pulling outside. Get a little guy in space here. Great kick out right there on Hebert to open up that lane. Durant's just got to hold that ball a little tighter to his body, particularly going into contact. You see it out away from his body. It's not secured. Plenty of potential points of contact there for an oncoming defender.
Big recovery by Torrey Harrison to keep Calgary moving now. On a third down. And an end zone look. It had an open receiver. That was Harrison. Falling down. So that was a third down gamble with about a yard to go. And once again, Calgary does turn it over on downs. Montreal football deep in their own zone.
A good play call here in terms of the situation, what the defense is anticipating. They think it's going to be a quick flat, but he turns it into a wheel and catches the linebacker flat-footed. Kai Hebert anticipating the flat, had him, but he just lost his footing. The opportunity slips away for the Stampeders as we approach the 3-minute warning.
And on that play, Harrison injured, so taking a knee, 3:03 on the clock. And with it being a 2-score game, significant moment coming up for the Stampeder defense.
Working from the slot, he's just see if he kind of clips that right ankle on when he goes to make the turn upfield.
That Calgary drive, and Harrison had a lot to do with it. 11 plays, 73 yards, took 5 minutes off the clock, and yet they have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, well, nothing to show for it. That 5 minutes is
works against
rather costly, yeah. Big investment with no return.
And one thing that Dave Dickinson was also talking about as we wait to see what's going on with Harrison was, as you said, Eastern opponents, and knowing that their game in that Western final will be against Winnipeg or BC or Edmonton, still a possibility that way. It's the not knowing in terms of preparation too that I suppose any team that clinches a bye does face, but they'll just take a break, and I suppose once they do get back that first week, not knowing who your opponent is, general preparation, then you can't really focus, I suppose, until that divisional semifinal is played.
Yeah, I mean, typically you'll spend some time, as you essentially have 2 weeks, you'll spend some time just kind of running your own stuff, even against your own defense. And, you know, as it leads up to that West semi, you'll prepare a little bit for both teams. You may spend 1 or 2 days on one, 1 or 2 days on the other.
Dave Dickinson, 10 years ago, was the Grey Cup MVP for the BC Lions. Now in his first year, he was a veteran quarterback then, as Harrison, a concerning sight for the Stampeders and with the injury bug, as Harrison has helped off. Now Dickinson dreaming of a Grey Cup as a head coach in his first year. Brandon Rutley. Oh, what a big gain on first down for Rutley up across the 30. Running that football, leading this game by 9 under 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Here he comes. Well, this is the only team in CFL history that won 16 regular season games, the Edmonton Eskimos of 1989. This is their 16th regular season win, and lo and behold, it came against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, led by their star quarterback, Edmonton was, Tracy Ham. They looked great. They secured the spot in the final for the West, and they ended up losing to Saskatchewan. However, despite that record season of 16-2, it was all for naught. Tracy Ham had, in an interview earlier this week, it talked about that, how it certainly didn't mean as much because they didn't get the championship. Nick Lewis is now 4th on the list all-time in receptions in the history of the Canadian Football League. How about that? Number 8 has 8 catches today, so he passed Alan Pitts, and he has now passed Darren Flutie for 973. How about Nick Lewis?
Nick Lewis, I mean, fortunately, there's not enough time in this game for him to catch anybody else because they may run out of footballs because Nick's keeping all the souvenirs today.
He'll want that one too for sure, and you're right, he already picked up one before. There goes that one. So 2 big souvenirs for Nick Lewis passing, and Pitts and Flutie too, 2 of the best the game has ever seen, and Lewis is definitely in that class. On the receiving end, Taekwon Underwood had a big touchdown reception from Rakeem Cato earlier, and on the receiving end there, just keeping this drive going and decreasing dramatically the possibilities of Calgary getting this record season. It's not looking too good right now.
Glenn Love, the latest injured Stampeder. Now he's starting at that weak side linebacker spot, usually occupied by the already injured Duron Mayo. So certainly the hope is that these Stampeder injuries that we're seeing will all be fairly minor. This one appears to be.
Well, at a certain point, you could forgive Dickinson and the Stampeders for saying, forget about the record. How about rest? Rest is what they need, and maybe recreation and rehab and getting better, just getting physically better for the games that matter much more.
And here you see Glenn Love. I think he gets in the path. A couple oncoming players, including big Philippe Gagnon.
Brandon Rutley keep it along the ground in second and short. 1:39 to go. It certainly appears, barring something dramatic, that the Stampeders will finish up at 15-2-1. Still one of the best in the history of the Canadian Football League. Not the best, but there is something more important out there, something that means a whole lot more to this team.
It's big picture, and I chatted briefly with Dave Dickinson before the game, and he talked about the decision at quarterback, and he said, this was my plan all along, was that this was a game that Drew was going to play. So it's not like this was something he decided in the middle of week 19. They clinched, as we've talked about, several weeks ago.
And they had a 16-game unbeaten streak. And it appears that this will be coming to an end, and that's the second longest ever. And boy, talk about a team, the Calgary Stampeders. By the way, we're talking about CFL records. The 1948 Calgary Stampeders had a perfect season. The only one in Grey Cup history, but that was 10 years before the official formation of the CFL. We make that distinction and call it modern day, but that team was something in 48 from everything I've read, a little before my time. The great Normie Kwong, who passed away this year, was an 18-year-old rookie on that team. Went to Toronto, helped define what the Grey Cup has become against Ottawa, the old Ottawa Rough Riders. That was the meeting back in 48. Calgary and Ottawa playing in Toronto. One of the possibilities this year. Certainly there are other teams in the mix too with to stake their claim. But a long winning streak of 14 games unbeaten in 60. You think about it, the Calgary Stampeders have not lost a football game since June. Week one against the BC Lions, and that was just a 2-point game.
Yep.
A remarkable year. Dave Dickinson and company, and every team could talk about what they've had to deal with in terms of adversity, in terms of injuries. But, Calgary has had to deal with a lot of injuries too, and they have shown their versatility, their depth, and I'm sure they're sick about the notion of having to deal with more as you look at Torrey Harrison, Glenn Love getting hurt as well. And
this is a team that had to overcome in the middle of the season the death of one of their players,
right.
Mylan Hicks, and the impact that could have on a group emotionally.
So you put all that together and what they have had to endure, and it has been truly a remarkable regular season, a season that's far from over, of course. The biggest, most significant game still to come, and that is 3 weeks away at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Montreal is just driving the football well. A good game for the Alouettes, trying to place their own significance on it when they hadn't a chance of a playoff spot. They have one more game next week in Hamilton. And this is what they wanted to do. They wanted to treat it like a playoff game. They wanted to beat the team that is the best right now, best record in the Canadian Football League this year, the Calgary Stampeders, and they are getting it done. Finishing the job off in victory formation with Rakeem Cato. By the way, Calgary lost here last year and the year before, so this will be 3 straight at home. Montreal over the Stampeders. The Nissan Titan player of the game, Nick Lewis.
He's leaving here with all the footballs and well-earned. Nick Lewis playing against his former team, a team with which he got things started in terms of all these records and milestones. Busiest receiver on the day. Big day for Nick. He is our Nissan Titan player of the game. 8 catches, 94 yards for him today.
What a day for the guy that Milt Stiegel calls. I'm not doing it, but he calls him Thick Nick playfully, and what a great receiver, as our friend Milt was as well.